V'hele alav l'shem shamayim. We turn back on the heat. According to this opinion, Rabbi Yehuda says, Chas v'shalom that Chanyo brought for Avodah Zarah. Come on, he was going to be Kohen Gadol of Klal Yisrael. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda says, no. He ended up making a Mizbeach for Hashem in Mitzrayim. And who would bring sacrifices there? Any guy who wanted to bring a sacrifice to Hashem was allowed to come there. And he even got permission from the emperor, and he got land in Mitzrayim, and he built a fake Beis HaMikdash. A sketch Beis HaMikdash. It wasn't the real thing, of course. That has to be in Yerushalayim. He went and he made some type of other building, of course not as fancy, and he convinced Goyim that, hey, you could serve Hashem here. I never heard such a thing. Imagine a guy opens up a synagogue and he says it's only for Catholic, only for Goyim, Gentiles who want to serve Hashem. Come in here and I'll teach you the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach and you can serve God here. But according to Yehuda, he was crazy what he did, but not as crazy as what Rameir says. Rameir says that Chanyo totally became a Rasha and brought and ran away to Mitzrayim, and he was so embarrassed, and now he started a new religion, whatever. But according to Rabbi Yehuda's understanding, Chanyo built a Beis HaMikdash. I mean, not a Beis HaMikdash, a Beis Chanyo it was called, in Mitzrayim. Now, Taisus has a question here. We know you're not allowed to bring a carbon outside the Beis HaMikdash. So Taisus says he didn't do it for himself. He did it for Goyim. In other words, he is not allowed to bring it. Who's to say that a guy is not allowed to bring a carbon in his backyard to Hashem? Okay, yes.
If Shimi was older than Chanya, why would he even believe him in the first place that he had to put on the...
Oh, so you're asking, according to Yehuda, if Shimi is older than Chanya, why would he be so foolish as to listen to his prank? You're assuming because he's smarter, he's older, he's smarter, why would he believe his brother? Sometimes people are naive and gullible, and they're nervous. They don't know, like, I never did this before, and they're kind of willing to fall for it. But it was definitely a ridiculous story.
Right, but then again, he since Shimi was the oldest, he knew that he was supposed to get the honor of being Kohen Gadol because he was the oldest. So he obviously would have been, like, let's say, practicing.
No, but there must be a reason why Shimon HaTzadik didn't tell his son Shimi to be Kohen Gadol in the first place. He must have felt that Chanyo would be better off. Okay, yes, question?
According to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that Chanyo was the one that built the Mizbeach in Mitzrayim, what was like Chanyo thinking by base Chanyo? How could, if he can't bring Karbanos to...
Why would Chanyo... Okay, so why would Chanyo make a building there for Karbanos if a Yid can't do it? So, he says like this, Taisus says, an Oivik Kechavim is allowed to make a neder or a nedava to Hashem, and I guess he thought that Shchutei Chutz, the Isser to bring a carbon outside of Yerushalayim, was strictly for Yidden. It's probably what he thought. Now we bring a pasuk that supports the story. The pasuk says, Shenemar, there's a pasuk in Yeshaya that says, V'haya b'yoy mahu. It will be on that day, Yeh mizbeach la'Hashem b'seich eretz Mitzrayim. The Navi said that on that day there'll be an altar for Hashem in Mitzrayim. Umatzeva and a monument. Eitzah Gevula LaHashem. In its boundaries that people would bring to Hashem. So there is support for this story. As the Navi said, it would happen one day that someone would make a mizbech. And if I'm not mistaken, his Beis Chanyo stood for about 350 years. And it's a long time. It wasn't just 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. It ended up staying for a long time until Goyim destroyed it. I guess if there was a guy that wanted to be from, this is a place where he would go. I'm going to take a question in a minute. Because the Shamu Chachamim B'davar, when the Chachamim heard this crazy story, Amru, they said, Umazeh shebarach mimenu kach. Mada Chanyo, who ran away from Kavod, he didn't want it. He let his brother Shimi be the Kohen Gadol. But then, he became so jealous of him. Someone who really wants Kavod, how hard it's going to be for him to part from it. And I just want to end off the Gemara, and I'll take 2 questions. I think what we have to learn from this Gemara is that you should have one goal in this world. and that's to give Hashem kavod. Always ask yourself, let's say you're not sure if what you're doing is the right thing. Ask yourself, is this bringing kavod to Hashem? If you can live a life like that, where you're Shivise Hashem and Negdi Sama, you realize Hashem is next to you, and you always say, is this going to be kavod? Guess what? You'll live a life like an angel, like a malach, like a tzaddik. But if someone's always interested in his own kavod, not Hashem's kavod, his own kavod, who knows what he's going to fall to? We saw Chanya who was interested in his own kavod. He couldn't become Kohen Gadol. They would never let him be Kohen Gadol now, after doing such a crazy thing. So he figured, okay, I'll get covered some other way. What? Start working in a temple? According to Rameir, it's ridiculous. He was willing to get covered as a priest, doing Avodah Zarah. That's kavod? Because he was interested in his own honor, not the honor of his Creator. And even according to Rabbi Yehuda, that he brought karbanis to Hashem for the Goyim. Still, always say to yourself, Ki mechabdei achabed uvozei yikalu. Hashem says, those who honor me, I will bring honor to them. And those who embarrass me, I'll embarrass them. I'll cause them embarrassment. Any last questions? Yes?
You're saying that you weren't allowed to bring karbanis outside of Israel, but by the time Moshe
I like that question. We're here. We have a good question here. And Yitzchak is asking, how were we allowed to bring a Karban Pesach outside Yerushalayim? So the truth is there were certain times where Yidden were allowed to have a bama. A bama means a private altar outside Yerushalayim. Even the Avos did. And there was only certain times where you're not allowed. Once we had the Beis HaMikdash, then you're not allowed to go make a bama. But there were certain times in history, like even when the Jews were in Gilgal or in Nov and Givon, they were allowed to make a private altar even in their backyard. Only time we're not allowed was when the Mishkan was in Shiloh, when it was in Yerushalayim, and when we had the Mishkan and the Midbar and the Beis HaMikdash. But some say that a miracle happened, that Hashem transported the Yidden to Eretz Yisrael by Pesach, so they were actually able to bring the Karban Pesach in Yerushalayim. There's a Tagi Me'asa ben Uziel that says the clouds actually brought them to Mitzrayim, they brought to Eretz Yisrael, they brought the Karban Pesach, and then took them back. So there's an opinion. Right. According to that opinion, Moshe Rabbeinu got to be in Eretz Yisrael, at least in that spot, bring the carbon and go. Yes? Right?
It said that he's with the Chanya was smarter than Shimei.
Oh, Chanya was smarter. Okay.
So that even if he was smarter, so then why by according to Rabbi Yehuda he said that Shimei went and then Chanya was going to be jealous of Shimei. He said, why would Chanya run away after why would he run away if he's jealous? So that then
Chanya ran away because he was so embarrassed that he did such a humiliating thing to his brother.
Did Shimei also do that according to Rabbi Kiva, who just said that it was the other way around?
No. Okay, yes?
Why, if Chanya was so much smarter, then according to the first job, why would he even put on the stuff?
So I told you, he might have been smarter, but sometimes people are naive and they fall for people's pranks.
Right, but he knows he's smart. He has to be very smart to be a Kohen Gadol.
Not at the time of the second Beis HaMikdash. The time of the second Beis HaMikdash, people often bought the position, even if they weren't smart. And that's why many Kohanim Gedolim died in the time of the second Beis HaMikdash, because they weren't holy enough to leave the Kodesh Kodashim. And you might wonder, so then why did they risk becoming a Kohen Gadol? So either they probably thought themselves that they're so great. People sometimes live in a fantasy world. They think they're big tzaddikim when they're not. Or the kavod was such a desire of honor that they were willing to get it even if they would die for it. Okay, that's the sugya of jealousy. May Hashem spare us from the big three sins, which is kina, taiva, and kavod. Kina meaning jealousy of others. Taiva is desiring things that we're not supposed to desire. And kavod is the yearning for our own honor when it's really supposed to be the honor of Hashem. Yes?
We learned that you're not allowed to be jealous of someone's Torah.
Oh, very good. You can be jealous of someone's Torah, kina say from Tabach Chochmah, but that's when you're not. That's a different type of jealousy. The jealousy we're talking about is when you don't want the other one to be successful. Whereas Kinas Seifrim is when you want the other person to be successful. If you want to be successful like him, that's okay. Okay. A very good friend of mine named Rabbi Brull from Baltimore, Maryland, wrote a book. And in it he has over 100, almost 200 great stories. And the name of the book is Who Cares? And what he's trying to say is that some people in this world, they don't care about other people's problems. But he says that some people do care. So now, this story happened with himself. It's a beautiful story. The story goes that he ran a gemach for 30 years. And again, I'd like to give a treat to the boys sitting nicest while I tell the story. He ran a gemach for 30 years. A gemach comes in many shapes and sizes. I once saw a gemach book that was published by my friend Rabbi Mordechai Gelber. It was a book, a 1/4 inch fat, of all types of organizations and all around the Jewish world, of every type of gemach you could think of. They even have a pacifier gemach for a baby who's crying and you can't quiet the baby down, but if the baby had a pacifier, the baby will quiet down. You can call them and tell them how old is the baby, and they can make sure you have the pacifier. I never knew the importance of that gemach till I saw how much my own daughter cries sometimes if she doesn't have her passy, even in the middle of the night. So listen to this true story. He was running a gemach for 30 years, and he loved it. People knew if they had a couch that they didn't need, they would call him up, and he would tell them where they could drop it off, and he would have a list of people who called and said, we need furniture, and he would make like a shadchan. He would connect the donor with the receiver. And he one time said that one man's junk is another man's treasure. Sometimes the guy is throwing out a bookshelf and he thinks it's a piece of junk, but to someone else, that's a treasure. I could use that to organize my, my books or something. So he loved doing this gemach, even though it took a lot of hours, but he was happy. What is the chus? To do chesed to the children of Avram Avinu who lived for chesed. So one day, he heard on his answer machine a request for something that he didn't know what to do. He heard someone say, "Hello, this is your friend. Someone called me that they needed a sukkah. They're a poor family, and it's coming the Yontiv of Sukkot, and they have no money to buy a sukkah. Can you help them with the sukkah?" So Rabbi Brull is listening to his messages, and he thinks, wow, I've gotten requests for all types of things, but this is unusual. Where am I going to get a sukkah? Okay, we'll see. It turns out he didn't return the phone call yet, because he didn't know, how am I going to help this person with the sukkah? I have someone who gave me for the gemach a stove, or someone gave me a refrigerator, someone gave me an air conditioner, someone gave me a heater, but no one gave me a sukkah. He figured, okay, I'll have to call him soon. Turns out, he gets a phone call, and he couldn't believe it. A guy calls him, and he says, Rabbi Brull, I would like to donate a sukkah for someone who doesn't have. I'm feeling that this side of the room is disturbing me, and I just thought I'd let you know. It turns out, Rabbi Brull could not believe his ears. How is it that the guy's calling out of the blue, and he just wants to donate a sukkah? I mean, he saw a lot of hashgacha pratis during his years, the 30 years running the gemach, where one person would need a couch and another person chopped off a couch. But this was unreal. that a guy should leave a message, I need a sukkah, and that someone should just call and say, I want to donate a sukkah.